Hello, everyone. How are you all doing today? I do hope you are all doing well. Today, we're going to talk about whether the club can do without an out and out striker should they fail to secure the signature of Erling Haaland. But before we continue, please smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and more importantly, click on the bell notification button so you don't miss anything. So, let's get into it. Today, I have with me a very special guest and a fellow YouTuber, Have Hope from Have Hope Football Hut. Hope, welcome to Chelsea Perspective.
And thank you, man. Thank you for having me in the Chelsea perspective, man. And I hope that we have a good, interesting discussion because I think anyone who knows me is that I don't hold my tongue and I just say what I feel. So whether you like it or not, I'll say how I feel. So boom, I'm ready to give my very specific takes, whether you like it or not.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, and that was exactly why I reached out to you so that it will be raw, no gimmicks, no holdbacks, so that the fans will enjoy it as it comes to them, and also the truth. So left for me, I'd say I am still hopeful. I still believe that the club will eventually secure the signature of Erling Haaland, but as you can see, there are some sections of the fan base who's given up, and rightly so, and some are questioning the club's activities in the transfer market. Given that the whole thing has taken longer than anticipated, before, if you ask people, they think that Chelsea will just go in, pay whatever Dortmund asks for, and then get the player. I'd like to get your thoughts on that. What do you think?
I mean, I've really changed over like the past, I'll say, week or so. I think initially I was like, Chelsea definitely have to get a striker, Then I was like, man, it's not looking good. Then, Dortmund got Malen, the guy from PSG. So I said, okay, maybe Malen is the replacement for Haaland. So then I got hopeful that, okay, because they now have Malen, they've secured him. Haaland is now a possibility. Then you saw the Haaland interview where he said that, oh man, like $200 million is quite a lot for one player. It's only just rumors. Then you got the Dortmund CEO and Vachka who said that nobody's listening. This guy is not for sale. He's not for sale. And something, you see, at the moment right now, I think I'm to the point where I don't think Chelsea have even reached out. That's the thing. I don't even think they've even begun to actually reach out to actually even talk to Haaland. And the thing, though, is to see it's very difficult having an assessment because we are all on the outside. And sometimes you could argue that look at the whole Jules Koundé thing that came out of nowhere. So maybe it's a case of where there's so much stuff happening behind the scenes that nobody wants to show their hand. So maybe contact has been made with Haaland, but Haaland is like, look, let me just be quiet, so forth, and everything. I'm not saying anything. But my thing, though, is I've got to stress this. Chelsea have to get a striker. They have to get a striker. Like, Chelsea cannot go into next season without a striker. Because people say, oh, Havertz can play striker. No, that is completely moronic and stupid. Havertz can play striker. He isn't a striker. And I think that if you now sort of retrain him to be a striker, you will take away his talents. His talents are he can create, he can dribble, he's got a great touch. So he is multifaceted. And you don't want to take that away. What you want is a specialist in that position, which is what a Haaland is, a Lewandowski is, a Lukaku is, and so forth. And I just think that Haaland represents the key because of his age, his upside, his potential. So, because in my mind, I'm like, look, Dortmund have a price. Because people say, oh, no, Dortmund are not going to sell this summer. But let's do the math. If he goes next summer, it's 70. Not a penny, not one kobo more or less. It is 70 million. And he's off on his risk clause. So if you're Dortmund, it's basic business. You can make more money if you sell him this summer than you can next summer. Because obviously, because 70 million is the release clause, they would obviously say, you know what? If you want him...
If you don't mind, can I come in there in terms of if Dortmund doesn't sell him now, come next summer, the price would definitely be the release clause in his contract, right? But you could argue also from the perspective of Dortmund that if they decide to keep Haaland, he's capable of helping them achieve something that's worth more than 150 million pounds. So I don't think the whole thing is straight. It's not that much. It's not straightforward.
But my thing though is realistically. Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Bayern Munich, you already know how strong they are in the Bundesliga. Let me ask you, realistically speaking, remember they just sold Sancho. We don't know how well Malen is going to do. Sancho was a major part of them winning the DFB Pokal Cup last season.
Sure.
So without Sancho now, and with Malen, who we saw screw up a 1v1 at the Euros, how are you sure that keeping Haaland just for 1 year will make them go ahead of Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga? They're not sniffing the Champions League. And I'm not sure that they'll even win the German Cup without Sancho, who was very important to the team. So you keeping him just for 1 more, because that's it. It's going to be one more year, because a release clause is a release clause. So anyone pays that, he's out. And see, my thinking is, because remember Haaland and his dad and Royal, they were going around seeing different clubs like Real and Barcelona. My fear is he is deciding between Real and Barcelona next summer. So he's like, oh, no. Chelsea not even in my thingy. I'm trying to decide, okay, Barca, Real. And he's really just waiting till next summer. So, because...
And that's another critical factor in this whole scenario. That may be the reason why, if you could argue that he's reluctant. Because if he's serious about coming to Chelsea, you'd hear something, you'd be hearing, at least you'd be hearing something here and there that suggests Haaland himself wants to come to Chelsea. But we haven't heard anything serious from him. What we had already is actually creating doubts in our mind that he really doesn't want to come to Chelsea. So you make a great point there. That could be another critical factor that is delaying this whole situation. So go ahead, 88.
Because see, my thing is, and again, it's a point, because you just even mentioned that we've not really had any talk about Haaland and Chelsea. He wants to play at Chelsea. He wants to play in the Premier League. There've been no words there. Like, we've not really heard much from him, but the links towards him going to the links towards him heading over to a Barcelona or Real Madrid seems a bit more than him hanging over here, man. So my thing is, look, I don't know what is in Haaland's mind, because
nobody knows.
Because look at Varane. I think Varane was driven a lot by money, a wage that United can offer him that Real obviously can't. So if money is driving Haaland, I think Chelsea can offer him more than what Barca or Real can, based on the financial situation Real and Barcelona are in. If it isn't about money and it's about legacy or going to the right kind of club, we have to keep it real. If we're being objective here and a player sees Real, Barca, Chelsea, they're looking at either Real or Barcelona based on their legacy and their history and what those clubs mean. So it's a question of what Haaland wants, which nobody knows. Because if Chelsea say, oh my gosh, take 170, 180, Haaland still has to want to go. So Haaland's like, no, I don't want to go. I'm happy to stay here. It's fine. So, but and it's because my thing is, you have Haaland. Real Madrid are saying that everyone is for sale, so Benzema could be a possibility. Although you look at his age, Bayern said that Lewandowski is staying, but you look at his age as well. Now people talk about Lukaku, but I'm like, I just don't think that's the one. I don't think Lukaku is the right fit. He's better than Werner, who is complete garbage trash. Like Werner, that guy is useless. But if it's between Werner and anybody, I'll take anybody over Werner. But in an ideal situation, Haaland is the guy,
Okay, let me put it. Okay, let's say if that the club fails to secure the signature of Erling Haaland, what do you think will be the best decision? Go for Romelu Lukaku, Dusan Vlahovic, Robert Lewandowski, which I think is impossible, or just do with what we have and just going into the season where we already have at the club. But before we come to deciding whether we're better off going into the season with what we have if we fail to sign Erling Haaland. What do you think would be the best decision if we're bent on getting a striker? And if the deal for Haaland, if we're not able to secure the signature of Haaland, what would be the best decision? Go for Romelu Lukaku, Dusan Vlahovic, or Danny Ings, who's already, you could argue, have Premier League experience. These are just names being mentioned out there. I'm not suggesting anybody. As for me, I'd say let's get Haaland or nothing. But what do you think?
First of all, Danny Ings, no, sorry. Like you
Okay,
can't you can't win the Champions League and go for Danny Ings. I mean, no offense, but sorry, like Chelsea on a high level than that. So if the worst case scenario is the case that Chelsea don't get Haaland, then you've got to get someone. And if it's the worst case scenario, because Inter say that Lukaku is not for sale, I think Lewandowski is going to be important.
Lukaku himself seemed, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. And Lukaku himself made the statement that he's happy at Inter and he wants to stay. And the fact is, we must also consider that Inter paid something north of £80 million for him to secure his signature from Manchester United. So should they decide to sell him today, they would want to make some gain off his sale, which means that they'd be aiming for something around 90 plus. And I don't see Chelsea paying anything around that price for a 28-year-old player who you could say doesn't really fit the profile of player that will complete the puzzle or that will help us solve the problem we have for a long time. He may provide he could come in and also help us solve the problem for a short time, but for a long time, I don't think he is that guy. So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that because that is a good question. That's okay. If let's say Haaland is off the table and Chelsea don't get Haaland, because you look at Tammy Abraham. If Chelsea don't get Haaland, should they allow Tammy to go? I don't think so. Because the whole idea is okay, Tammy can go because the striker's coming.
Yes, but if Chelsea keeps Tammy, it's a risk since he's refused to put pen to paper. It's a big risk. The more his contract runs down.
No, but my thing is that you have to look at the short term right now. Like, obviously, the idea is you want to get. So, if let's say for some strange reason you can only get a striker this window, you have to have something. So, even if Tammy doesn't commit, you have to do something for the season ahead. Then you now think about next summer once Tammy leaves. But the whole idea, you see, the main overarching thing is Chelsea need a finisher. Like when you look at Chelsea, the defense is fine. The defense is great. Midfield, great options and so forth. The attacking midfield, the issue is Chelsea couldn't finish it. The issue is Tammy Abraham was Chelsea's highest scorer with, I think, 9 goals. And all those goals came from open play with only like 12 starts. So the goal scoring at Chelsea was abysmal. Because you obviously didn't, because Chelsea created chances, but they couldn't finish. So when you look at what Chelsea do, that the fact that you're creating chances, logic will tell you that okay, you now need somebody who is clinical and can finish. Which is why it is so important to get a striker, because my thing is you don't want to put that pressure on Havertz. Havertz isn't a guy that can give you 25, 30 goals a season. So Chelsea now say, oh no, because Havertz scored a few goals here and so forth, because he scored in the Champions League final. Okay, yes, he scored in the Champions League final. Yes, he scored a few goals. He's not a high volume goal scorer. That's not his game. And to put that on him would be very, very, very bad for Chelsea.
Yeah, great point right there. In terms of, you're right. We were wasteful in front of goal. That's the truth. We created 81 chances, finished 58 of those chances, which means it's around 47% conversion rate, which is very poor for a club like Chelsea. And that highlights the importance of the club going for, and you could say, an out-and-out striker who will help solve that problem and at least put away at least 80% or 60% plus of those chances. And but you haven't told me, Hope, what do you think will be the best decision if because anything can happen? You understand? Because if Dortmund is asking for anything around 150 million pounds, there is a problem with that because the FFP is still in effect, although most people don't know. And we don't want to spend it because we have it. We have the cash, we have it. But there are some things we have to consider before we pay that much for a player. So what do you think would be the best decision for the club?
You've got to get a striker. And maybe the striker felt you've got to just go out there and get it. And this is where the scouting people have to do something. For me, Timo Werner, it's not going to work. So my thing is, you've just got to get a striker, and you now have to really look at Havertz, Ziyech, Mounts, and say, you guys have to now step up. So you guys have to now step up your goal scorer. And I think Tuchel now has to really lean on everyone in the team to contribute if they don't get a striker. But I think, because who knows, Chelsea could just fall into finding a really good fifth finisher. But because my thing is, you could say that, hey, maybe Timo Werner had a bad first year. He had Lampard one time, Tuchel now. Maybe if he has Tuchel for the preseason, the season, and Werner somehow looks good. But he looks so bad. He was so bad this year that I just don't see him somehow out of nowhere doing this thing. So my thing is, find someone. Find a striker and just find someone. Even if it doesn't work out, cool. But just find an alternative to Timo. Just find an alternative. Because what you want is you want a breath of fresh air. And what you want is an alternative. So if Werner doesn't work, okay, this is a new striker, different from Werner, who can maybe give Chelsea something. Because remember, so if you're saying that Tam is going to be going, Giroud is going to be going, you need someone. Like the whole point of Giroud being there was he was like an alternative. He's tall, play link play and so forth. So you do need an alternative. You need a plan B. You need another option if, let's say, Werner doesn't work out or Havertz doesn't work out. So you do need someone in that striking position. So yeah, I would say get a striker. If you can get someone who can play that position, who is different from Havertz and Werner.
What if the argument is since we created a lot of chances and the only issue was that we didn't put away the chances we created, and given that most of those players that underperformed, especially the new signings, that they haven't had a full preseason with the club, given the COVID situation that created a problem for every club. But now that they're having a preseason, and at the end, before the season starts, they will all have a full preseason under their belt, and the coach himself is capable of solving that goal scoring issues. What if if I argue, okay, we could do with what we have, and Armando Broja is in the squad right now. He did very well in the Dutch league, but that's not, you can't compare him. It will not be fair to compare him with the strikers we currently have at the club or any big names out there, because that's a big difference between the Dutch league and the Premier League, and his age also, given he's just 19. But don't you think that we can just do with what we have, and they, with a full preseason under their belts, they do better?
It's risky, because I do think that it was almost a miracle how Chelsea managed to win that Champions League and gain top four, because the team struggled a lot to score goals. Now, it's true, Tuchel has preseason and he now has these guys for a lot more weeks, so maybe he can be able to really help them improve them, specifically Ziyech, who, again, Ziyech is a guy who I have high hopes for. Didn't really work out for him, but maybe he needed this preseason. So it's a possible, but again, we don't know the future. We can't say the future, so it is a possibility. But you always want to put yourself in the best possible position to succeed. Like, look at them Chelsea getting Jules Koundé now, which is because you always want to improve. You want to improve, and what you want is the best possible way to succeed is you have a squad. So you have options. And not only options, you want to be able to put people on their toes. You want people to be on their toes and really be sweating, because if you don't play well, this guy's ready to take your place. So So if Chelsea go in with what they have, and City have not put in an official bid for Grealish, and if they give the valuation for Harry Kane, you look at Van Dijk is now back for Liverpool. Salah is a guaranteed 20 to 25 goal a season player. Without a clinical striker, do you still believe that Chelsea can challenge Man City or Liverpool for the league? Doubtful. Champions League, anyone knows. Anyone knows. But in the Champions League, teams will be better, and there will be a target on Chelsea's back. So my thing is that yes, of course, Chelsea can do with what they have, but it's not ideal. Every season, even if you win everything, even if you win the treble, every season you must always improve. You must always improve and always get better. You should even always improve even in your strongest areas. But just I think maybe because I'm old school, I'm a guy that says I must always have a striker in my team. A guy who all he knows that he is a goal scoring expert. So you have your number 10, your winger, your DM, ball playing centre back, right? But you must have a guy who specializes in scoring goals and understands the art of scoring goals. Chelsea don't have that. Chelsea have very good players and so forth, but they don't have a guy who specializes in scoring goals. And for me, that is it. I don't care where we are in football or how football evolves, that is crucial in any football teams. You need a specialist in scoring goals.
Yeah, I agree with you. That is very important. And you made a great point when you said, I mean, it's important. There's always room for improvement in every team. And given that Chelsea are European champions, every other team, you could say we'll be the team to beat this coming season in the Champions League and in the Premier League also, given our performance overall. So it's important that we do something about that. And yes, I agree with you. We could decide to go with what we have, but then we have a problem given that Man City, like you said, have put in an official bid for Grealish, and they may be making some other signings. Salah is guaranteed at least 20 goals or a little less, whatever it is. So we need to do something to be able to compete with them. It makes great sense, and I appreciate you taking the time to explain that. So let's come to something that's been out there. Just I think it started yesterday. The rumor that Chelsea are preparing to pay, was it 80 million pounds or so? I know I've talked about it a little bit, but can we go? I'd like to get your thoughts on that. That Chelsea are preparing to go for Romelu Lukaku, who is 28 years old, for how much again? They said around 110 million. Actually, million pounds was the quoted fee. What's your thought on that?
I mean, Lukaku is he's better than what Chelsea have right now. It's better than what we have right now. I just think that Lukaku is a guy who needs a specific system to succeed. And I think that hence why it'll be interesting to see what he now does with Inter without Conte. I think the Conte environments and just what was built around him was just perfect for Lukaku. So I think someone like Haaland, I just think he's a proven goal scorer wherever he will be. And I think Lukaku, you just never know. And my thing with what made Lukaku so good for Inter is because he played with Lautaro Martinez. And they had a very good back and forth. And just that system and how Lukaku was used really got the best out of him. So Lukaku now comes into this Chelsea team, who will play the Lautaro role and how well will he fit into what Tuchel wants? Because Tuchel's approach is a bit different from what Conte does. So I'm not super excited for Lukaku because I think I look beyond just, oh, he played well here. So no. I think football is a lot more complex and deeper than that. Is that, okay, even if a guy did really well here, is he adaptable? Or is it that he just works supremely well for that system and for that team and for that concoction? So you have to really look at things, on a larger scale. So, but if let's say the scenario arises that Chelsea have Lukaku, that's good because you actually know you have a good striker. It's not ideal, but I think having Lukaku would be a much better position than not having a Lukaku.
But you think the club, do you think Chelsea are really looking at him at that price, 110 million pounds for a 28-year-old?
I'm doubtful. Based based on his age, I am doubtful that they're willing to go. I mean, Inter already said that there is no sale and there's no chance of them selling Lukaku. And I think Lukaku likes it at Inter, but I'm doubtful of the 120 million for him. I just don't see that happening. No way.
Yeah, exactly. Two factors there, actually. Inter doesn't want to sell because you could argue practically Lukaku himself is Inter. He's the most prized asset at that club and Inter Milan at this point. And given they've lost Hakimi to PSG, I don't think they'll be willing to sell Lukaku. And even Chelsea also wouldn't pay out such amount of money for a player who's 28, and there's no guarantee that he will fit into our current system. And you made a great point there, because at Chelsea we prefer an all-round striker. A striker would be able to, drop deep, support the play. It's that
Lukaku can do that as well. Lukaku does it very well.
But do you think he will fit in well at Chelsea?
No,
because you did mention
that I'm just like, in terms of, because I watched a lot of Inter Milan games last season, and I think Lukaku had double figures of goals and assists. So he had 11
assists.
Yeah, so he could drop in deep, go out wide, and he was very good at really just bringing in guys into the game. So he was very comfortable, very deep, and a lot away from the 18-yard box. So that's fine. But my thing though is, in Lukaku, because I just saw how things did work out for him at United, I just think in Lukaku, I just think he's a player who needs a specific system to succeed. But he is a good finisher. I think he is a good goal scorer. And I think for me, I would have more, 100%, I'll have more faith in Lukaku than Werner and Havertz, because Lukaku is a better goal scorer than Havertz and Werner. That is for sure. So if Chelsea go Lukaku, it's an improvement. But the whole idea is you only go for Lukaku if that there's no chance whatsoever of getting Haaland. You have to fully, 100% exhaust every possibility of getting Haaland,
Honestly, I must tell you, Hope, I don't think the club are really looking at him for that price, and at least not for anything north of £60 million. But that is, by the way, and again, you make a great point. People don't usually think beyond the player they're looking at. In some cases, you'd have to adjust the way you play to accommodate a new player, to make sure you get the best out of them. And I think if this Chelsea decides to go for Romelu Lukaku, it will mean that we'd have to adjust the way we play. Because you could argue he's more of a point man than he is an all-round player. But that's, by the way, and I wanted to ask you, given everything that is going on right now, what we've had, what Haaland himself has said, what's his agent's name? Riola, what he said, what the Dortmund chairman has said, do you think there's that chance that Chelsea will still get the deal over the line? Because the truth is, it looks like there's been some sort of informal negotiation or informal, contact between the two clubs. Do you think it will eventually happen? Because you did say something about how the Koundé deal out of nowhere, everybody started hearing about it while we didn't even know we were looking for a centre-back that serious. And all of a sudden we heard that the deal is almost at the point of completion. So do you think the Haaland deal is the same case with the Haaland, Chelsea's pursuit of Haaland, and will the club eventually secure his signature?
It's I mean, you know what? I think it's a difficult one. I think we just have to wait. We just have to wait, because my thing is, it looks doubtful. It looks unlikely based on all the stuff that we've heard. But if Chelsea say, okay, we're going to pay 160 or 170, and if, without any of us knowing, behind the scenes, representatives have met Haaland, they've given him the project, they've given him his wage, and they say, you know what, you're going to be the sense of our team. You're going to be, because my thing is that Chelsea can say to Haaland is that, look, if you go to Barcelona, Messi is king. It's the team is built around Messi. If you go to Real Madrid, Benzema is still there, probably be built around Benzema. But if you come to Chelsea, the team is going to be built around you, because the reasons right now Chelsea are a team. It's not built around anyone. It's not focused on anyone. It's just everyone just pulls to the same direction. But if Haaland was to come, the team will now be built around Haaland, and the system will be done to cater and play to his strengths. So if these things are happening behind the scenes, then of course there's a chance. So I think it's now the waiting game. You know, you have to just see what happens day by day by day. So all these things that you're reading and so forth, it's just talk, you know. And people can, and I've seen it many times where people can say one thing in public, you hear another thing happen a few days later. So I just think it's really just like the waiting game.
Yeah, that's a great response right there, because we can only speculate. None of us are amongst we're not in the Chelsea board. We only read what we see in the media, draw conclusions, and then some of us just twist it a little bit, use it as clickbait to get more clicks or more followers on social media. But that's, by the way, another important question I want to ask you is this. I know you know Armando Broja very well. If eventually the club signs Erling Haaland, Dusan, Vlahovic, or any other striker who would believe will help us solve that goal scoring issue, how do you think it will affect the development of Armando Broja? Because he's good, and I don't think it will be the better option will be for him to stay with the team, develop with the team, learn how the manager wants the team to play, and then he will have a clear path to the first team. And then we can't do with just a single striker. We need at least two. That's why we're Chelsea, and we have a lot of games to play, and we need to be competing on all fronts, not just the Premier League and the Champions League. So how do you think that will affect the development of Armando Broja?
I think, you know, the best way to sort of improve as a player is you have to play games. You know, so I don't think you improve by just a signing common, but you sit on the bench. You have to play. So for a Broja and so forth, I mean, for me, preseason doesn't mean anything to me. Preseason is irrelevant. You know, what matters is, okay, it's now a game that means something, played at full pace, full emotions. What can he now do? So my thing with Broja is I don't want to hear any talk about what he's this is the no. Put him in the firing line. You know, as the saying goes, baptism by fire. So I think the only way that we'll know how good Broja is if he plays in Premier League games. So 20 minutes here, like look at what happened with Aston and Martinelli. You know, like people say, oh, he's good, but they now put him into proper games, full games, and look at how good he was. So once you know that a player can perform and play well in competitive games, not preseason, not friendly, that's how you know that, okay, this is how good this guy can be. I mean, it doesn't even be about goal scoring, just playing well. Then you know how well his development can be, and okay, he now doesn't need to now head over to a loan or so forth.
So your suggestion is to give him time, and also give him some time in high-profile game, or let me just say Premier League games, to see how he performs.
You have to put him in high-profile games to see how well he does. Now, you don't have to start him. Obviously, you can start him in like League Cup games or so forth, but in Premier League games, okay, give him 15 here, 10 here, 15 here. You bring up Vanny, bring up Havertz, you bring it 15. Then now see how well can he now do. Because again, look, it's like with Arsenal and Martinelli and Smith Rowe, like it could be a situation, okay, Chelsea can't get a striker. Okay, all they have is this Broja kid. And now Broja can now come in and, oh, geez, wow. This guy is actually pretty good. Oh, wow, this guy's scoring goals. Oh, wow, this guy now works for the team. So you will never know this until you just put them in the game. So the only way you will know is if the dude plays. So,
yeah, thank you very much, Hope. I thank you for taking the time to say that. Overall, what advice do you have for the Chelsea fan base who are eager to see the club just, drop the cash, bring in the player, don't waste time? Because some of them, if you speak with them, they say, well, it's not my money. And some of them, you could argue, forget that the FFP is still in effect. And also, it is somebody's business. We must always recognize that. And also, if we keep spending, then we might someday in a few years end up like Barcelona and Real Madrid. So even if we have it, we have to be careful how we spend it. So what advice do you have for the Chelsea fan base who are eager to see the club just to bring in a striker, no matter how they do it?
I mean, yes. Abramovich has been doing this for a while. And I think Abramovich is a smart man who knows how to operate financially. Like when you look at Real and Barcelona, like for Barcelona, they just had a very bad owner in a Bartomeu who just let things get out of control. In a Perez, it's his model. His model was always because his model was always the Galacticos to overspend. But you also look at Chelsea's loan system, and I think Chelsea have more players loaned out than any club in the world. And there is money from that as well. And remember, you are loaning guys as well in the view of maybe making sales. And I think that is like the good and bad thing about Marino. So it's like a double-edged sword. Marino is really good with getting good deals, making money, making a profit, and so forth. But I don't think she's so good in, identifying the targets that are needed and go and get those targets. So I think financially, Chelsea are going to be fine based on who they have in their hand. I think the people that they have operating the money and so forth is a lot better than guys like Barca and Real Madrid. So Chelsea will be fine.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time to say that. And I hope it's been an absolute pleasure presenting this transfer talk to my followers and the Chelsea fan base. I sincerely do appreciate you taking some time off your busy schedule to be here with me. Can you please take some time, tell the viewers about your channel, and whatever social media where you have presence so that they can go check out your content. And I will make sure to leave your complete information in the description section below.
Yeah, so basically, my channel is Have Hope's Football Hot. If you just type in Have Hope Football Hot, you will see it come on YouTube. And if you want to reach me on all my socials, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, Facebook. Just head to the website, halfoffootballhot.com. And then all my socials should be near the top of the page. That's halfoffootballhot.com for the website for all my socials.
Yes, people, you've heard the man, and his Twitter handle is on the screen. Go check out his channel if you want a channel where football is discussed raw, truthfully. That's the place to be. And you have a Saturday hangouts every Saturday, right? And it's something that I advise you to go see. I've seen some of them myself, and I truly enjoyed myself whenever I had the time to be present when he streams. So I advise you to go check out his channel. Hope, again, thank you so much. I appreciate you finding time to be here with me. I can't thank you enough. It means a lot to me. Thank you, brother.
My pleasure, man. Thank you, bro. Thank you.